back, and of course, as we said at the start of the show, we will analyse some of the clubs now and just see exactly, we'll stick our necks out or something I can't do, and just talk about where we think some of the clubs will be going by the end of the year. It's big predictions after round one, and maybe we might even be brave enough to predict who might win the flag and who might even win the Whitley medalist after one round of footy. That'd be very silly, wouldn't it? Never mind. We've known to be doing some silly things. Oh, we'll start off with Winchelsea. Dale, how do you think they're going to go this year, realistically?
Well, you've
and I don't want to put you on the spot either, mate.
It's times like this where it's surprising sitting back in the chair. But now, look, again, I saw them last year and they were very disappointing. So it's going to be a stage where they're going to have to rebuild, and they've done that in the best possible fashion so far. You can only go out and beat an opposition side that's presented to you. They've still got the big bloke there in Atchell, I think, which will be a benefit to them. Kello's a good player and probably didn't play as well as he could have last year. Tench is back in their better players I can see this week. So they've got a base around it. Young Matty King. I think it's Matty King came from...
Correct.
No, he was,
correct.
No, down at Torquay way. I think he was playing down that way and came
Matty
back
King.
to... Yeah, he's only a young bloke, but he hurt himself during the year last year when he came back to the club. So if they can get some benefit out of those younger kids coming through, then they're going to be okay. They will need to obviously perform well when they play at home, because, as I said, when sides leave their own ground, they seem to lose that bit of grunt, I suppose, and they'll need to have that going for them all year. Look, a positive start, Dick. I'd still like to be able to see them on the ground and playing football before I give a firm indication, but they won their first game, and Geelong West last year, from my point of view, were the improvers. I'm not too sure how they situate this year.
Must have been very disappointing, Jace, for Geelong West, because they're out at the new Church Street Oval now. They want to really get some supporters and their sponsors back into the club, and it was a pretty disastrous start for them. Will they improve from here?
Well, I think they've got a very young team. Their coach is 22, so they're going to have to start. They're obviously going to start from scratch again, and I would think that rather than just look forward to this season, they possibly have to look a bit further afield and say, well, what are we going to be doing in 3 or 4 years' time? They really need to keep the nucleus of the team now and not turn over players. If they turn over 20 players a year, they're not going to improve. But you can't do that. So if they can structure their team around, 12 to 15 players every year that are going to be there for 3 or 4 years, which a few years ago they did that and they had some success, they won some games. But if they're going to turn players over every year, they're going to find it difficult. So they really need to say, okay, let's win 2 or 3 games for the year, see where we go from there, and then make sure we keep the nucleus of that team for next year and build off that again, and bring some juniors through, recruit some 2 or 3 players. There's no use opening the checkbook and saying, let's buy 8 players, let's win 8 games this year, 10 games next year, make the finals, and then they all leave. You can't do that. Teams like Thompson, teams like Bellpost Hill, they're built off the back of juniors. And Geelong West have to do that, but they're in a difficult situation because of where they are. They're against teams like Bell Park, against Geelong West St Peters. And they've been like that for 10 or 15 years. They really have to try and work out a system where they can build from within the players they've got and see where they go from there. They are going to struggle this year, but let's hope they win a couple of games.
Jake, I'll just show that I'm not a biased person. I'll let you talk about this. North Geelong obviously were picked to be cellar dwellers this year and to be knocked off by about 7 goals on Saturday. They've certainly maybe proven that they might be a bigger contender than a lot of people think.
Yeah, well, they're sitting on top of the ladder at the moment. So
thanks, Jake. I appreciate that.
I don't think they'll stay there for too long, but obviously good signs so far. Frank Foppiani's obviously got them working very hard, and only way is up for them. They've got a strong juniors program in place at the moment, and I think, they won't make the finals, but they'll be thereabouts. So they'll be, they won't make the finals, Dick.
That's the last I'm going to throw to you for a comment on North Geelong. That's it. Dale, can you talk a bit of sense, mate? Inverleigh, can they improve from here?
It's going to be tough, Dick. Again, I suppose you go back and compare them to Corai on the weekend. They had a couple of kids played in their junior games and then come out and played senior football. That's a big ask. I think it's good that the kids want to do it, and I've got no problem with kids doing that and playing the game. There's some good kids. Young David Peel played, and he was in their better players in their senior side. Ryan Gerard was another one that played in their senior side. They've still got 2 or 3 kids that are only in their 2nd and 3rd years. They missed a guy like Toby Prendergast. Jason Quinlan's having 12 months off. There's 2 or 3 others that didn't play in that game. They needed to recruit some bigger body players. Jace Kelly is one we mentioned. I think it might have been mentioned last week. He didn't play, so if they can get him back into the foreground and get some players around him, look, they'll go all right because they're well coached. Stoney does a really good job with them and while they've set up and their rotations and all that sort of thing. But I think their body size is going to really hurt them. They seem to have gone from a younger side last year to an even younger side this year. And if they haven't got that little bit of experience in close, tight games, when you need them to make those good decisions, then it's going to make it very hard. One thing I will tell you, though, is the kids never give you anything else but 100%, so they won't go down without a fair try.
Jason, I noticed that at the Thomson Thunderdome that the John Mitchell grandstand is well underway with the construction zone looking sensational out there. Premiers last year, once again a big year for Thomson.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're obviously the yardstick of the league. I think they've probably lost a couple of players, but I think they've picked a couple up as well. And I think that they're going to be thereabouts again. They're probably a team that Geelong West have to look at and say, well, okay, how did they build their team? They have never had strong juniors for a lot of years, but they've been able to get some junior players there and bring them into the seniors and play them and blood them and be able to play them in finals. And I think that's seen them well. They've recruited well. They're coached well. They've got a good coach, experienced coach. And I think that, a team like that attracts good players as well. So they'll be thereabouts again. They possibly won't win as many games as they did last year. But they showed on the weekend that, under pressure away from home first game, that they gelled pretty well. And I think they'll be thereabouts. They won't be far away again.
And Jake Aniki shouldn't be too despondent after that game because obviously, as Jason said, Thomson are the yardstick of the GDFL. They can now regroup and hopefully start again next week.
Yeah, they'll be hoping to do that, but I don't know if things will go too well for them this year. Obviously, they just missed out on finals last year. I think they were a few games off, but I actually think that they might drop a few places this year. And seeing sides like North Geelong and Winchelsea starting to win games might have them worried. Belmont obviously finished low last year, and I think they'll overtake Anarchy this year. So it might actually be a pretty nasty year for Anarchy, but they'll obviously be trying their best to make sure it's anything but that. But yeah, as I said, I don't think the future's too bright for Anarchy at the moment anyway.
Dale, flag favourites this year, maybe a bit early, but everyone's talking up East Geelong. You think that that is a fair call?
Yeah, look, they're not too bad a side. They haven't lost many players. Robbie Chamberlain comes into the back from a year at Geelong West. Gloucester, I see in the paper, he got 4 or 5 goals. They didn't need to improve a lot last year. I suppose a little bit of discipline late in the year probably cost them a little bit. But look, they've got a pretty good blend out there, and O'Hara's probably a bit like, I suppose, a John O'Shannessy from Bannockburn. He's the bloke, if he can get him back and running and going well up forward, then they get that extra avenue to goal. And he was injured a fair bit last year, and I think they missed him more than they probably like to say. They're well coached. Scrobbleck does well. He controls the game from the middle of the ground. I'd still like to see the big fella go forward because I think he's worth 5 or 6 goals himself, plus 2 or 3 8 that he does create for their roving forwards. But they may not have another option in the ruck. So as well as he's playing on the ground, I think they're a lot better side, and I'd expect them to finish in the top 1 or 2.
Time is gradually catching up on us. We thought we'd have plenty of time to talk about this, so we'll just ask Jason very quickly, Werribee a chance to improve?
Oh, I think so. With players like Simon Calvert and Jason Verstuka still in their team, Brendan Chug back, I think they can improve, but I don't think they'll win the premiership.
Jake, Belpost Hill, good start, and they'll go on from here.
Yeah, there's not too much to say about Belpost Hill. Everyone knows they're a solid side, and I'd expect them to finish top 2 or 3 this year.
And anyone like to say Belmont Lions will obviously improve, Dale?
Oh, look, I said before, Dick, I think their program's in good stead now. They've got 2 or 3 bigger players back to the club. Murphy's going pretty well at full forward. He's the new captain coach or joint coach down there. So, yeah, look, I expect them to win a lot more games than they did last year. Okay,
I'll finish up by saying expect better things from Corai because time is running out. Bannockburn were just sensational, as we alluded to earlier in the show, with Riccardi and, of course, Ben Nala being very key figures out there at that club. Well, time has caught up with us once again. Thank you very much again for allowing us into your lounge room to present our show, and I hope you all have a very, very happy Easter. We look forward to seeing you all again next week. Dale, you have a great Easter.
I look forward to it, Dick. A weekend off, I suppose, is good now because we didn't want it, but we've got it. So while I've got it, I'll enjoy it.
Jason, happy Easter to you too, my friend.
And you too.
And your family, and Jake and your family.
Thank you. Yep, heading home for the Easter break, so I'm looking forward to it.
Down to the Sale Magpies. Yep. Good stuff. Have a lovely Easter, folks. Once again, we'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.
We are the Raiders from all around your lawn.